For as our beloved brother, Incarnation of Peace on Earth, told us earlier about the different forms of yoga. He said, Jnana Yoga, the yoga of wisdom. Gyan, knowledge, true knowledge, can only be experienced and not heard in words. Yes?
Yeah.
One cannot know the sun by somebody telling you about the sun. One must stare upon the sun, and better yet, lose oneself. So there is no more sun and no more one looking at the sun. La ilaha illallah. So, if we are to apply this method of scientific inquiry, because let's not get this twisted, right? I mean, we're here and, we share these stories and we build these beautiful communities and we build, we share stories of prophets and saints and, we're like, the levels of heaven and levels of hell and all of these things. But at the end of the day, we're really here to be enlightened, right? Enlightened as to what? That's the questions that we ask, right? People are always like, I'm going to become enlightened. Enlightened as to what? Enlightened as to the nature of who you are. So how can we seek enlightenment upon the nature of who we are in words that we think somebody else wrote? Right?
Yep.
Only in direct awareness, only in the absolute naked surrender of this moment right here, not the moment 2 minutes from now, not tomorrow morning, not a year from now, in this moment, we must see that which can never be unseen and that which is never really seen. The being behind all beings. That you have always been. Even when we were living in the dream. So how do we do that? Let's use a couple of tools to our discretion. Right? Our one tool that we know the world with is our own awareness. Right? With our own awareness, we know the world as it is. So, whenever we observe anything of this world upon the screen of our consciousness, we must understand that there is background and then there are things that appear on the background. Right? Just as we see the whiteboard over there, the whiteboard is the background upon which the affirmations, I am everything, I am proud, I am cleansed, I am certain, I am royal, I am peace, are written. But the background to them is the board. Anything can be written on the board and it can be wiped away. The board remains. I want us to just close our eyes for just a second. This is the background upon which the entire universe occurs. This right here. This what we have now, this is not imagination. This is the background on which the entire world of sensory experiences occur. Everything you have ever seen, everything you have ever heard, everything you have ever touched, every thought you have ever had, all of that has appeared here, yes? Is this your own experience? I beg you, please don't believe me, don't take my words. Is this your own experience?
Yes, sir.
Open your eyes. Or keep them closed. So if this is the background on which the entire physical world occurs, what is this background made of? This is the substance that we have to get a hold of. usually we walk around in the world and we think that we have thoughts. We think that thought is something that, appears on the background. But you have thoughts even when you do not have any physical experiences occurring, right? And what is thought made up of? What do you experience thoughts in? It's not a trick question. But what are they made up of? Like what's the thing? Words. Thoughts are made up of words. And words are made up of sounds. And sound is
Energy.
well, that's the next step. Yeah, vibration. Vibration, which is just energy, right? So the thoughts that you are having, the thought itself, the screen of your own awareness, the screen of your own consciousness, even when words do not appear upon it, is the energy of reality vibrating constantly. This is the thought I am. The first thought, the last thought, the only thought, the one thought that is dancing its way into everything else. The sensory experience you're having of this face, of this voice, is appearing on the background of the thought I am that you are experiencing. Yes? Right now, in this moment. So the thought I am that is occurring to that everything else is occurring on, including the body that we have believed ourselves to be, appears on the thought I am. Hundreds of years ago, I fell into this delusion. And I said, I think, therefore I am. How did I think if I wasn't? Who was doing the thinking? And only now do I realize that I do not think, therefore I am. I am the thought I am. Right? Though it is this body speaking, this body is appearing on the same thought I am. And all the other bodies here occurring on the same thought I am. This thought I am is what takes the form of every single thought that you have ever had. Right? You have experienced every thought that you have ever had, which is the context with which you know where you are in any given scene of reality, right? Right? You appear, right now you're seeing this scene just like on a TV screen, but you have a story behind how you ended up here. You have a sense of, I know who I am. I have a bunch of thoughts, of like, who am I? This and that, right? This has all been the one thought I am, having taken these shapes. What happens when the one thought I am is completely emptied? What happens when the energy of reality, the infinite itself, which is not a concept that can occur on the thought I am, the infinite itself is what the thought I am is. The thought I am has no existence of its own. It is only infinity vibrating into words. In the beginning there was the Word. And the Word was with God. And the Word was God. And then from our thoughts, we create desires. From desires arises the entire material world to fulfill. And in this material world then, the thought I am thinks, oh, I must be the body, right? I must be the body that's usually appearing on the screen of my awareness. And those must be other bodies that appear on the screen of awareness. So tangled in words, the infinite believes itself to be a finite thing of its own creation. So not only did the infinite, which is, we must really understand what we mean when we say infinite. the incarnation of peace on earth was telling us earlier to point to the reality that the word Allah is referencing, right? That, and he said you could use any word as long as you're referencing reality. So when we say infinite, your mind has concepts that arise. Whatever those concepts are, no matter how grand or how small, are limitations upon infinity, because infinity is infinite. If you say I am God, you might be like, wow, I am God. Even the statement I am God is a limitation upon who you really are. Because God is a set of concepts that you associate. So even when you say I am God, you are actually less than what you are. If you say I am the whole universe, the entire universe is less than what you really are. And here's the really tricky part. Even when you are this, you are always that. Even when emptiness is form, form is emptiness. And we don't have to, have beliefs for this. In fact, I will tell you here that beliefs are like pacifiers for children. Useful. But you see a 25-year-old with a pacifier in their mouth. A little bit of a problem, huh? Haven't really grown up. So we must take these beliefs out of our mouth so that our heart, as the sister was teaching us earlier, can allow reality to flow through it. And not just a set of beliefs. I am a Muslim. Those people over there are Christians.
Yeah. Come on.
Actually, I'm a Sunni Muslim. Matter of fact, I'm a Sufi Sunni Muslim. And just like that, your infinite being has been limited to just a Sufi Muslim, which are just words. They're not even real things. The one thought I am that is infinite, unknown, except by itself all the time, has become just a tiny set of words and vibrations. And you're like, I'm just this set of words and vibrations. But it is here right now. It is you right now. But is the thought always a trap? Is Allah all-knowing? Is this true? Is the infinite all-knowing?
Yeah.
Is the infinite all-powerful?
Yeah.
Is the infinite all-wise?
Yeah.
So why would the infinite create for itself a trap like this? It must be for a purpose. The brother told us intelligence is above awareness and consciousness, right? What is intelligence? But awareness coming to recognition of itself fully. Right? Not just being aware of this object, but being aware of this object as not an object at all, but the self of all. To look at the world and see behind it the projector that projects the world. Right? So the purpose of the thought I am, the purpose of thoughts at all, is so that infinity can communicate with infinity. It is not purposelessly that the thought came into being. It is not purposelessly that the whole material world came into being. See, every single scene that can possibly come into existence must come into existence, because it would be absurd to say that infinity does not take every infinite form. But if it does so, how will it learn from its own mistakes? How will it learn to create better and more exciting stories except by communicating with itself, right? I mean, like if we just walk through the world without any reflection, then we will never grow. Sheikh Sufi tells us about the 7 levels of the soul, right?
Yeah.
And the first level is no self-reflection whatsoever, right? Just random instincts, boom, 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 boom. That's not where we're trying to be, right? So the infinite created this mechanism of thought so that it could communicate with itself. So in this entire structure of space-time, right? I mean, we're going to use a physics term here. Imagine all of space and time, all physical spaces, and all of the different moments that they can exist in as one single object, existing in 4 dimensions instead of 3. So in 3 dimensions, you see moment by moment. In 4 dimensions, you would see this as, you would see a house. If I go into one part of the house and I learn something about that part of the house, now I want to communicate this to myself. I need some kind of a mechanism to communicate this to myself. And that is the mechanism thought. That is the purpose of the thought I am. Now, how do we use the thought I am? Because usually we're all tortured by our thoughts, right? Most people, especially in the time and place that we're living in, are getting drunk, getting high. This is, I'm not a moralizer here. This is not this is not me moralizing. That's your business. But recognize what it is that you are doing. All I ask is to have self-recognition, and realization will follow. But the reason why people try to run away from, when people say I'm trying to run away from myself, I can't stand myself, what they really mean is the thoughts that are appearing on the screen of my consciousness are things that I cannot bear. Right? So what this means is that the infinite must have a mechanism of transforming the thought as though from lead to gold. A real alchemy of love, if you will.
Yes.
This process of transforming thought can only occur with one way, right? We said true knowledge and transformation can only occur with knowledge, yes? Can transformation occur in ignorance? Can ignorance bring forth transformation? Is not ignorance the very pattern that keeps one locked?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Only when the light of awareness has been brought forth upon something and knowledge is gained, then knowledge can transform. Because the thought I am is transformed, so the thought I am is able to transform the physical world. So when the thought I am, the only way that it can actually be all-knowing is if it lives through every single scene. Allah is not all-knowing because Allah sits there and watches you on a projector screen. Allah becomes you. Allah is the present witness to every moment, right?
Yeah.
That's why Allah knows what's going to happen. Because Allah's already experienced it. Because time does not actually move linearly, right? Like space and time exist simultaneously as a completed object. Of course, they're infinite, so they're never really complete. This is words are inefficient to describe this. But what the thought I am is doing is one part of infinity learns and communicates with itself, hey, I made these mistakes over here. We should do this a little bit better. And so we invented we the infinite, invented a mechanism by which we could actually just avoid our mistakes, and that is the highest thought. A thought that at any point in space-time, the infinite could access, and this thought would tell the infinite exactly what to do in the exact moment that the infinite is in. And we said earlier that thoughts are made of vibrations, right? Vibrations that become sounds. And if Allah is beautiful and loves beauty, then the highest thought would be a song.
I see what you mean now. I see
right? The infinite energy of reality constantly vibrating at higher and higher and higher and higher frequencies, available to itself at all time, through all time and place. Nobody is gatekeeping this. This song was mentioned earlier. What would such a song be called in Sanskrit, which is a song of the divine? Somebody mentioned it earlier.
Bhagavad Gita.
The Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
And if we recall the verse that we recited to begin this talk, the very first revelation that the Prophet Muhammad received by himself in a cave in aloneness, when the angel Gabriel grabbed him and he said, "Iqra," recite. And then came the qira'ah, recitation, that we call the Quran.
Come on.
The highest thought being transmitted back to itself. You know, one wonders, if all there is Allah, then who is doing the revelations? Who is doing the revealing if all there is Allah? Who could reveal to Allah? Only Allah could reveal to Allah, right, Shaykh? Only Allah could recognize Allah, right, Shaykh? So the revelation is coming from the one who is receiving the revelation, just at a different point in time. Right? The highest thought is as though you from the future are trying to transmit back some knowledge to yourself, because now you are in the future. You know how the story has gone. You know the mistakes you have made. You know the regrets that you have. You know the things that you could have done better and would have done better. And of course, because you love yourself so much, you want to tell yourself how you could have done it better. But it is even better than being in the future, because just because you're in the future doesn't mean you have perfect knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
You can only have perfect knowledge if you have gone through every single scene from every single perspective. So I am watching myself through every single being that is present here, and I will watch myself as every single one of these beings through all their lives and all of everybody's lives, and I will come to the realization of what should be the best plot, and that is what the Quran is. Revelation available at all times. And this is not heresy. This is not, a lot of, it's, right? Even in Orthodox Islam, even in Orthodox Islam, if one really looks into, the creed, and one really looks into it, one will realize that even the scholars of Aqidah in Islam have said that the Arabic Quran is not actually the Quran.
I heard that.
Right? How could the Quran be in Arabic? That's absurd. The Quran is uncreated. This is a fundamental belief in mainstream Islam, is that the Quran is uncreated. The Quran is an uncreated aspect of divinity, because if the Quran came into existence, it could not be divine. Anything that comes into being cannot be from the beingless, from the beginningless. And Allah, as we know, Allahus Samad. Allah is eternal. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. Nothing came into existence from it. Nothing comes out, and it came not of existence from anything else. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And there is nothing like it. Right? So, if this is in fact the case, then what we are saying is that the Quran and the Bhagavad Gita and the Bible and every single revelation, every Rumi poetry, every sweet word a lover has whispered into every single sweet thing that lovers have whispered to each other in intimacies, every single soothing thing that a mother has said to her child, every loving look that has come from the child looking at the mother, must be coming directly from this one frequency. Right? The Quran is uncreated. Therefore, it is an aspect of the divine. And if the divine is just the infinite energy of reality vibrating, then the Quran is just a specific frequency, a specific vibration that once manifested as the Arabic Quran we have today. And therefore must be accessible at all times to all beings that will ever come into existence. How could it be that Allah would not be accessible to Allah?
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
You're just gonna stop talking to yourself? At some point in your life, you're gonna be like, you know what? I'm all set. I'm not gonna start improve now at all. I'm not gonna give myself any feedback from now on. I'm all set. I'm all set now. I'm done. Infinity has ended. Eternity has come to an end. Can eternity end? Can eternity end?
I never heard no such thing.
Can eternity end?
I ain't never heard it before. Eternity end. I ain't never heard it.
Can eternity begin?
I ain't never heard of it.
If it's eternal, it cannot begin, nor can it end. It can only be in a constant process of creation, reflection, creation, reflection, creation, reflection, creation, reflection, creation, reflection, creation, reflection, an infinite love letter that you've been writing to yourself forever. And you'll never stop. Because the truth is that you are always being revealed to yourself. There's something called the double slit experiment, which is the foundation of modern physics. It happened in the 1920s, where, you can look up the experiment on your own time. But the conclusion of this experiment is that reality or energy, right? E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times speed of light squared. And I know y'all are grasping onto light right here because y'all are all light beings right here, accelerating to this close to the speed of light. But energy exists in the form of a wave until it is observed by a conscious observer, at which time a wave, which is infinity, which is formlessness, emptiness, becomes form. Quite literally, the stars shine in hopes of being seen by your eyes. The sun rises in the morning because you are there to witness it. I'm not taking poetic liberties here. I am not taking poetic liberties here. This is the truth that we must directly observe. When we come to this realization, and the purpose of the highest thought, the purpose we mentioned this entire scheme of why, of why the highest thought was created and what the highest thought is so that in any given moment you can, instead of whatever internal civil war you got going on, should I go to the gym today, should I not go to the gym today, does this person like me or do they not like me, actually, do I like that person or do I not like that person, or should I, gas is expensive, whatever thought bubble that you got yourself stuck into, at any given moment you can close your eyes and just reach out to highest thought. I'm here in love and surrender in Islam, because at the end of the day, what does the surrendering is the thought itself. What does the reincarnating is the thought itself. Bodies do not reincarnate. Bodies simply change forms. Who is it that's changing the forms? What is the continuity in reincarnation? It is the thought I am. Right? What else could be? What else could it be? Your own consciousness, your own awareness has taken the form of a specific thought. And that thought keeps incarnating. This body and mind that we have is no different than a cell phone. It is a receiver and a transmitter. It is a receiver and a transmitter. We were talking about, Kundalini earlier, right? And Kundalini is, of course, the infinite energy of reality. The infinite energy of reality, when it traverses up the human body, this divine transmitter, right? It is transformed into thought, going through all of the different chakras. It reaches thought, and that's how thought is created. Just like you burp, and then that burp is into the world, right? Just as you speak, and then this vibration is in the world, just like that, thoughts are just created out there. They just exist like clouds. And they traverse through all of space-time. So you could create a thought this moment, and somebody 10,000 years ago, back in Egypt, could receive that thought. And I'm sure all of you have experienced this when you've been meditating and you've been just observing your thoughts sometimes, and you just start getting bizarre thoughts. Right? Cheryl, you haven't picked up the groceries. I don't know no Cheryls. But the thought is there, and you're like, well, where did this thought come from? Because the thought does not belong to you. See, because you associate yourself with the body, you then think that every thought that appears to the body must be my thought. But if you think that you are not the body itself, then you will realize that thoughts are just like pop-up ads on your web browser. That's all they are. They've come into existence and they're seeking release. So look at them lovingly. Look at them lovingly. Because even the pop-up ad is just God in disguise. But just like when you open up your phone, right, and you have your like regular patterns, you just open up, you click Instagram, you're scrolling, you're like, damn, I'm not even having a good time. Or your consciousness is being pulled into any which direction, right? Like it's grab here, add there. That's just how that phone right there is a metaphor for this one right here. Just like that, you are constantly picking up thoughts, or in other words, you're tuning into specific frequencies. So the analogy of you being tortured by your thoughts is like that of a person who puts on a horror movie on TV and then forgets that they put it on. Forgets that they have the remote in their hand and they could change it any time, and they're like, man, why is God doing this to me? The devil's so tricky. The devil's coming after me. Well, you got the remote in your hand this whole time. You believe yourself to be a victim of a malevolent force on the outside because you've forgotten that you're the one who tuned into these thoughts. So just like when you buy a new phone, you have to learn how to use the phone, right? And just like you have to learn how to use a radio to tune into specific frequencies. Just because you got a radio doesn't mean you're going to be on the right channel that you're looking for. You just turn on the radio and they got sports talk show on there. You're like, all right, I guess I'm listening to sports talk today. When your intent was to listen to music, you wouldn't do something like that, right? You'd be like, I'm going to change the station until I find the thing that I like. But the problem is, we grew up in a society where the knowledge of how to change stations has been lost. But luckily for us, the thought I am thought this through and therefore created the highest thought. So even the knowledge of how to change the station is accessible if we access the thought, the highest thought. Now the question is, how do we access the highest thought? Honestly, all you have to do is be sincere and ask, and you shall receive. That's really all there is to it. I could give you all kinds of fancy practices, and none of them would really work, because all you really need, in other words, is dua. is to put the intention out into reality. Say, I need you right now, my love. And your love will come running to you. Wasn't it Allah that said, if you take one step towards me, I will take 10 towards you. You walk towards me, I will run towards you. Could it be the case that a child is crying in agony and the mother doesn't come running? Could that be a case? Then how could it be the case that your divine mother, who didn't just hold you in her womb for 9 months, she holds you in her womb right now. She gives birth to you moment by moment. Moment by moment, she brings you out of nothingness into your beautiful presence. How would she abandon you? How could she abandon you? How could it be that you ask and she wouldn't come to your aid? It's only that, a child sometimes gets fixated on a puzzle and wants to solve it. This specific person's mom, says that when I was a kid, I would try to open things or solve a puzzle or something, and I would never know how to do it. And I would never want any help. So anybody would come try to help me, I'd be like, no, get out of here. But then I would just be frustrated not being able to open this water bottle. That's the example of us just sitting around here being like, man, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Life is so tough. All you have to do is empty the thought I am. That's it. Empty the thought I am. So even the thought I am can disappear into silence. Once you are in silence, that's all there is. That's all you've been seeking this whole time. That's all you've been seeking this whole time. You've gone after desires in your life, and I know you haven't found any release in them. I know you haven't found any release in them. All you have found is every time you had a desire fulfilled, it just created more desires.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it will keep creating more desires. You will take on 1 million more bodies with 1 million more faces, and you will be just as satisfied with every desire fulfilled in there as you are unsatisfied with the desires that are being fulfilled or unfulfilled in your life right now. Because the one who desires is the thought, and the thought desires to be emptied again. That's all it wants. To go back home. To be in this silence where love alone is. We use many words. We say energy, we say the infinite, and all of that. But if you ask me personally, what is the word that describes that from which words emerge? What is the thread that weaves this reality? What is the background upon which all images appear? It is love. It is your own love for yourself. Once we see this, once we enter the silence, once we see the divine directly, and you do see the divine directly, you never stop seeing the divine directly. I look through all these eyes, and I see the same eye behind all those eyes, which is my own eye. Looking at myself, 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 looking at myself. Forever and ever 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 and ever. Right here in the present moment. for the rest of time. In this stillness, desires rise and fall immediately. No distance between the rise of desire and the fulfillment of desire. In the present moment, fulfillment alone is. For there is no one to not have not fulfillment. Your own tremendous amounts of personalities that you've taken on over the years, you will notice rise and fall, 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 until you realize that the rising is the falling and the falling is the rising. And all is all, and all is you, and all is me, and all is love. Come die in this new love, so you may live forever. In this silence, we can have the direct experience of Satori, the beatific vision. Sheikh Sufi tells us that the foundation of this path is Islam, surrendering, Iman, and Iman comes from the word amana, which is trust. I know it's translated as belief, but the word is trust. And it actually comes from like the word of like a rope, holding onto a rope. Trust. And you hold on to this trust, you hold on to this rope, which is the highest thought. Surrender to it, hold on to it. And you will notice that the third part will happen immediately, which is ihsan, which is beautification. Everything that you will ever see will appear perfectly beautiful. Not one thing out of place. Every experience you will ever have for the rest of all your lives, and you will have an infinite amount of more lives, will always appear perfectly beautiful. You will never look into the eyes of your beloved again and see a stranger. Is there a greater tragedy than this, than to see your own lover and not recognize their face?
That's like looking in the mirror and don't recognize yourself.
And all we have to do to prevent this calamity, and a calamity it is, right? A calamity of heavenly and helly proportions. To see the face of your beloved and see a stranger. All we have to do is say, I'm done playing the game. I'm done. I'm done playing. I'm done. I want to go home. And just like Dorothy, you'll realize you've been home this whole time. There's no place like home. Just tap your feet 3 times. Just needed to wake up. Just needed to wake up. You know, we talk about escaping the matrix, but the truth is, there is no escaping the matrix. The matrix one must escape is the illusion that one is one stuck in the matrix. When one realizes that there is no dreamer behind the dream, but the dream itself does the dreaming, then the dream only is lost in itself. Never afraid that it won't be found. Because what else could there be? Does a wave fear that it will be lost in the ocean? No. You've been running around for thousands of years begging for a glass of water. Looking everywhere. Turn around now and realize that you've been the ocean this whole time. We've said a lot of words tonight. And words are helpful, of course. But as is customary for our conversations with each other, it is only befitting that we end this beautiful conversation that we've had with ourselves in silence. So at this moment, let's take a few seconds to set our intentions. We've been talking about the highest thought this whole time. Let's go meet her. Shall we? Ya Allah, we ask you to take us on this journey into you, and let us not be adrift on these eternal waters. With that, let's begin our observation of this eternal reality. Notice that even now, there's sounds and there's thoughts, there's maybe other sensations that are rising. But since you are the one observing their rising, you are not them. Observe your sense of being with vigilance. What have you accepted as yourself? And let it go. Notice the rise of sensations that you thought were your body, just as you notice the rise of waves in an ocean, and watch them fall. Observe the silence now, from which this voice that you hear now emerges. And now observe the silence in which this voice returns. You get the joke? This is not a special moment that you're having right now. This is your own awareness that is with you at all times. Welcome home, my love. As we get ready to open our eyes, let us be cognizant of the fact that now thoughts will begin to rush to the screen of your consciousness. Don't open your eyes yet. But instead of trying to grasp onto specific thoughts or trying to run away from other thoughts, observe each thought and notice that it is made up of nothing but emptiness, which is love. Make this, enter into a holy union right now, in this moment, with yourself. Say to yourself these vows that I will never let you go again. And I promise that I will never let you go again. Before you open your eyes, know that Allah revealed that the East and the West belong to Allah. So whichever direction you turn, all you will see is the face of Allah. And with this intention and with this realization, open your eyes and realize that all you see is the face of eternity. That's all, folks.
What's wrong?